What's up guys, it's Poir Sensei bringing you an advanced guide on gear, crafting, stat soft caps, and max level, maximizing copper profits, graces, etc, etc. So hopefully you'll learn a lot about the game from this video, and hopefully it helps you tolerate my build videos better. This should give you the foundation to pick up those videos faster. So give this video a like if you want to see more videos like this. Let's get 700 likes maybe, and man can dream. But anyways, class is now in session. Let's lead with the biggest crime that Team Ninja has ever committed. Storage. Where the hell is storage? Is it at the flag? Is it at the old man? Is it at the main mission menu? No? Well, where is it? Turns out it's at the blacksmith. Why? But yes, the storage can only be accessed via the blacksmith, via the button you see in the top right. You press that to switch to storage, and there you can transfer stuff back and forth, or mass sell or salvage stuff too. Example, if you want to dump a lot of stuff into storage so you don't reach max inventory while playing, go to the sell or salvage tab, then click additional features. Here you can specify what the star level of gear you want to move, and once you do that, go to the all tab via left or right, and then click the left thumbstick. And then it'll select all the 3 stars in your inventory, then you click an item to confirm, but instead of salvage or sell, you go to send to storage, and all those items will be moved. And you can do the same thing of getting items back into your inventory from your storage, but this is how you also mass sell or salvage stuff too, obviously. And last thing about storage is, because storage is in this stupid location, you will not auto refill ammo from bows and such whenever you start a mission or rest at a flag. So if you want to restock, you'll have to travel to this map, go to the smith just to get some arrows. This is as of launch of the game, so I'm sure it's going to change, but for now, this is how you have to go about that with storage. But the storage leads to the main person we want, the smith. At the start of Wulong, she will only briefly appear on a couple missions, but once you unlock this town in chapter 2 to 3, she will finally be here. First off, the gear system has 2 components, a rarity and an upgrade level. Rarity dictates how many stats a gear piece will have, and upgrade level dictates the power level of the gear. The max rarity is 5 stars, which can only be attained in New Game Plus, which is the post game after you beat the main story. And max upgrade level is +9, which you should be able to achieve by the end of story as well. The upgrade menu specifically just upgrades gear though. You cannot upgrade rarities, so whatever rarity gear you found is stuck with it. With that said though, 4 stars are really good still, since stats have limitations, which I'll talk about that later. But for early game, purple is fine, just don't upgrade 1 or 2 star gear. Those are trash. But to upgrade, you'll need copper and materials. These materials you'll find throughout missions as items, from slaying enemies, or from rewards via the mission screen, as you see here. You can also obtain materials by salvaging equipment, which we'll talk about later too. Unfortunately, there is no way to convert materials into a higher or lower tier, nor is there a way to purchase them. So if you're in endgame and want lower level mats but are out of them, you have to go back and farm new game missions with that said material in order to get those, say, 1 to 5 star mats. But yeah, pretty simple, upgrade your gear when you can. Rule of thumb I'd follow is 1 upgrade level per chapter. So by chapter 7, you should be using at least +7 gear to have a smooth experience. And for New Game Plus, definitely get to +9 as soon as you can. Do note that upgrading a weapon does increase its scaling grade. These grades dictate how much extra damage a weapon gets from upgrading said virtues. The higher the grade and the higher the stat in the virtue, the more damage you get. By +9, every weapon will have 2 grades at A scaling, while the third is usually B or C. Also, scalings are locked to weapon type and cannot change. So Unparalleled Spear here can only ever scale with wood, earth, and water, nothing else. So it's going to be bad for your fire and metal builds since you gain no damage from upgrading those stats. With DLC, this will likely change, but for now, weapons are very limited to specific elements. Next, the complex part, embedding. Before I get into that though, with upgrades, do be careful. The higher upgraded the gear is, the more expensive it is to embed jewels, aka add stats. So if you want to save money, embed a gear piece you plan to use before upgrading it to save cash, which is mega important for full sets you get from maxing out bonds with reinforcements, since their gear always starts at +0. So anyways, let's begin. Each gear has random stats when you pick it up, As mentioned, rarity affects the amount of stats, so a 1-star gear might have 1 stat modifier, while a 5-star would have like 5 to 6. An important fact that people don't know is original stats you find on an item are usually higher than crafted ones. Take this spear with 5.9% spell duration. If I were to embed this with a jewel instead, the highest percent I get is only 5.2%, which might not seem like a lot, but if you repeat this across the 5 gear pieces you have, then you'd be losing 3.5% spell duration between all of them having natural stats versus all of them having crafted stats. Next, most gear come with permastats. These are stats that cannot be changed and are not random, but set stats for their particular gear type. You can tell a stat is a permastat by the icon. With this weapon, it's melee attack spirit damage, which you can tell by the closed square icon next to its name. The exceptions are set bonus gear. This mace has a set bonus and thus has no permastat, since the set bonus effect already takes up a slot. And if you don't know, set bonuses give effects based on the number of pieces worn that are a part of that set. You can hit right trigger when highlighting a piece to change to the set bonus menu to see its effects. But you need to wear at least 2 pieces to activate a set bonus, so even though this says it has 4 stages, you technically need to wear 5 pieces to activate all the effects. The exception to the permastat thing though are graces. These are rare set bonuses that can appear randomly on normal gear with permastats only found in New Game Plus. These are kind of the endgame chase items for New Game Plus, but because they spawn randomly on gear, they sometimes might appear on a gear piece with a permastat that you don't want, to which you'd have to continue farming for more to get a whole set with the ideal pieces you want. So that's the permastat system, which is a part of the complex part, which are the icons. Each stat is grouped into several categories dictated by the icon next to it, and some of them have limitations on how many you can put on a gear piece. Example, circle icons, you can put as many as you want on your gear. But red, blue, purple, and green icons, you can only have 1 per gear piece per type. So like 1 red, 1 blue, 1 green, you can have all at the same time, but you can't have double red, double green, etc. And that color usually means what this stat usually is. So for red, they are mainly damage stats, etc, etc. But if you want to change it, you can remove a stat via the embed menu, which is free, and then you can simply add another stat from your list to take its place, but that part costs money. But purple stats are kind of like special effects stats that are kind of rare and usually powerful, but like the others are limited to 1 per piece. This leads to the next mechanic, which is the salvage mechanic, how you actually get the stats. In order to get more stats and grow your list of available stats as you continue to play, you need to A, remove effects individually from a gear piece, or B, which most people do, go to the salvage menu and salvage the entire gear piece. By salvaging, you grow your list of available stats you can add to your gear as you progress, and you get jewel fragments, which are the other requirement for adding a stat onto a gear piece. And once you unlock a white, red, blue, green, etc., by salvaging it just once, you can use and add those effects infinitely across your gear, forever. The exception are these rare effects with this icon, which can appear next to any icon regardless of color, and are 1 use only. These are completely random and pretty rare, so there's no way to farm them, so it might take a lot of grinding and RNG to get a lot of these effects. But take this iron sword. It has the rare stat damage bonus ice attack power, increasing my damage based off how high my ice stat is. Well, if I go to salvage it, which you can see on the right side there, I will obtain that stat to use and put on another gear piece once. But once I put it on a gear piece, I will then have to find and salvage more if I want to put this effect on my other gear pieces. Or the other option is I can remove the gear piece from the thing I just put it on and simply swap it to another. So you can still swap them around, but you can't put multiple on the gear unless you salvage multiple copies of that same stat. And these stats cost way more to embed, so keep that in mind. The only gear you cannot change are accessories, so whatever stats you find on accessories is whatever you get. Luckily, there's a reroll trick you can do to get great accessories, so watch my video on how to do that if you're hunting for a particular stats. But actually, there's a better method, where if you drop 9 or so jewel fragments to a panda in New Game Plus, you have a high chance of getting a 5-star accessory back, meaning free 5 stars instead of simply swapping them around with the older method. Very cool. So yeah, do that. Anyways, like the storage system I said earlier, you can mass salvage by hitting options checking the first option to salvage, say 3-star or under gear, then go to the All tab, click the left thumbstick to match salvage junk, and then you'll obtain any rare stats that you have not obtained yet, as well as a buttload of jewel fragments and materials. But you might say, well, I already have a ton of jewel fragments and this piece has no rare effects, so I should just sell it, right? Because I'm not really getting anything from it. Might as well make 8k gold, cha-ching! But no, not always. Before selling a piece of gear, check how many fragments it gives you. In this case, this gives me 11. Well, fragments sell for 1k each. So if I salvage this piece, then sold the 11 fragments, I'd make 11k instead of 8k. And this can go as high as 14, and you get materials in most cases on top. So you make more profit by salvaging and selling fragments rather than selling gear outright. Just salvage and sell fragments instead. And the last little thing here is decoration. This is the transmog system of the game. When you find gear as you play through the game, they will be added here, and you can decorate a piece to make it look like certain other gear pieces. And that's everything to know about the blacksmith. You kind of want to tailor your build around one red stat, one purple or star stat usually, and the rest a mix of the other ones. And you can always press the options button to know what any stat does. Filters! How the heck can we search for effects or set bonuses through all the hundreds of gear that we might pick up? In order to search for filters, you have to go to inventory specifically. Can't do it in the quit menu. No, inventory only. And okay, we're here. Where's it at? You guys see it? Anyone? Me neither. Well, you have to click an item first. Then the submenu pops up and hey, there's the filter. Dumb placement. Change it, Team Ninja. But yeah, that's how you access filters. And then you can search for like the rarity, the upgrade level, set bonuses, and all that jazz. So, next, moving on to weapon skills. Weapon skills are like stats, they are random. If a sword doesn't have swift lightning, for example, you will have to find another one that does. The exception though is orange colored skills, usually from set bonus weapons. These are always on a particular weapon, while the second skill is always random. Unfortunately, we cannot change skills currently, which really holds a lot of freedom back. Hopefully, crossing fingers, they patch that in via an update and not be locked to DLC only. And last thing regarding weapons is the deflect difficulty stat. This merely means how much spirit gauge you lose on deflecting. So if we dry deflect, you lose X amount of spirit gauge. The higher the difficulty percent, the less spirit you lose. The lower it is though, the more spirit you lose. And finally, player stats. The max level you can reach for the base game is currently 150, and the highest a virtue stat can go is 99. So it is currently impossible to have two stats at 99. With DLC though, this level cap will likely increase, but for now we're kind of limited. But these virtues affect weapon scaling, as I said before, and each have their own special effects that get increased when you level them up, usually 2 to 3 stats. And pumping up any virtue also gives you more spell points for all spells every certain amount of levels. Let's just say 5, so every 5 levels you're going to gain a spell point for spells in all virtues. But wood affects how much spirit gauge you lose when attacked, spell duration, and gives the most HP per level, like double of what other stats give. Fire affects martial arts gauge consumption and how much spirit you gain when using light attacks. Earth affects your equip load, which affects the agility stat and how much spirit you gain when deflecting. Metal makes casting spells more cheap and affects your spirit sustainability. And lastly, water affects stealth and your deflect consumption. And in particular, stealth kinda sucks for sneaking, but its main benefit increases fatal strike damage to unaware enemies. So you can kinda one-shot most enemies if you sneak up on them with a high stealth stat, although it's useless against bosses. Now, each of these stats have soft caps where upgrading past a certain number decreases the benefits you get per level. Luckily, someone on Reddit made a very detailed post on all these soft and hard caps, so make sure to see the pinned comment or description for a link to that. It is very well done. In regards to armor, there's one important stat to keep in mind, which is agility. Agility comes in 4 colors: blue, which is light, green, which is medium, yellow, which is heavy, and red is, hey, you too heavy, bro. This stat affects how good you can deflect and how good your dodges are. In light A agility, your dodges cost 0 spirit gauge to use, but in yellow, your dodge animation is different, likely less iframes, and costs more spirit gauge. Similarly, the lighter you are, the less spirit gauge martial arts consume, so you can spam more martial arts in light than you can in yellow. And red you should never be in, and the only way to decrease your weight is by investing into earth to raise your equip load, so most builds kinda have to invest in earth one way or another. Now you might think, well dang, light armor has no downside. Well, that's wrong. In New Game Plus, light armor usually has less defense and damage reduction, which can result in you getting one shot by most red attacks in New Game Plus. So if you miss one red attack deflect, you're dead against most bosses. Now you can get effects from spells or stats to prevent this, but at base level, that's the con. Whereas heavy armor, which usually puts you into sea agility even with earth investments, can tank a lot more and let you survive content much better, because who cares about the dodge when you have deflect and blocks. So if you're good at parrying, light armor might be better, but if you're bad at parrying, C or B agility is safer. And last thing I'll mention is battle sets and respec. You can essentially save builds at a flag that copies your current stats and gear, and you can change your builds whenever you're at this flag. So if you're a fire build and come across a boss that's resistant to fire, you can always just swap to a water build or metal, because you can freely and infinitely respec at the old man in the village hub, allowing you to change stats at will. So what you can do is change your stats so you can have a high stat in all the elements and save that for different battle sets. So if you ever need water or fire or whatever for whatever reason, you can just change on the fly instead of having to come back to town. And final tip, in regards to set bonuses, there does exist a set bonus reduction stat. Now it's super rare and likely only appears in New Game Plus, but it is the yasakani equivalent that we had in Neo. So far I've only seen it on armor, but if it can appear on weapons or ranged weapons or accessories, then that opens the possibility to be able to run a full set and like half another set, or like a mixed combination, as it lowers set bonus requirements by 1. So instead of needing 6 pieces to activate a full set bonus, now you would just need 5 along with the minus set bonus stat that appears on other gear pieces. So yeah, aside 5-star gear, this effect right here is going to be the chase item that you want, as you're going to gain a lot of power from it. But yeah, I think that should cover everything you need to know about the gear and crafting junk. Anything else I missed will be covered in a future tips video, so make sure to leave a like on the video if you found it helpful, and comment down below any more tips in regards to gear and stats. There's a lot of niche things you can learn about stats, like elemental attack power not increasing weapon damage, or there being a star melee attack power stat that stacks with red stats, or how much damage bonus do you really get from damage bonus modifiers and such. So if you can comment that kind of stuff below in the comments, that'll help a lot of people out. Also, check out my bulldozer build if you want a build that makes the game easy for New Game and New Game Plus. And for more builds and guides, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell for more. Whoa long! Yeah, yes.